Public Affairs very much thanks Residco, our sole corporate underwriter, for helping to make the production of this show possible.
Yeah, just give it to me from the gut right now. What would you tell me in a minute why you should be governor? You haven't decided, but if you were running for governor, what would you go out when they open that door, when you knocked on that door? What does Tim Ozinga say as to why they should vote for you for governor of the state of Illinois? Welcome to Public Affairs. Really interesting show today. We're taping this on May 15th, and we have as our guest Tim Ozinga, who just about a month ago was really in the news. Tim is a co-owner and executive vice president of Ozinga Bros, a fourth generation family business, and would you describe it as specializing in building materials and logistics?
Yes.
A lot of money. You're a wealthy man. That would be fair to say.
God has blessed me and the family.
And that business has done very well over the 4 generations.
Absolutely.
And so, as I say, we're taping this on May 15th, but just a little over a month ago, you were in the news because you stepped down suddenly from your state rep seat. You had been there going on 4 years.
Yes.
No really explanation. Do you want to tell people now, why is it you stepped down and why so suddenly?
Yeah, so I stepped down. I have really appreciated the opportunity to serve the people of my district and have learned a lot and really felt at this juncture that it was my gifts and talents could be better used helping other folks continue to run and get elected and get more good people in office. So it's fighting the good fight down in Springfield, but felt like there was an opportunity to focus my time in other ways. So.
Okay, well, people might know, in addition to being a state rep and from the 37th district, which is a district about 40 minutes south of where we're taping this in the Chicago Loop, southwest of that. That's Mokena, population about 25,000. Number of other areas, Tinley Park, Orland Hills, so forth in that district. That's what you're doing. You're
Right.
37, so you're doing that for almost 4 years. You're an educated man, a Trinity Christian undergraduate work, MBA from Kellogg School of Management. And you were the founder and volunteer CEO of Big Tent Coalition. What is Big Tent Coalition?
So Big Tent Coalition is a group that I organized starting a couple years ago where we really saw an opportunity to help candidates and potential candidates get engaged and get involved and run for office. And part of the name Big Tent is sort of a term that's meant to be inclusive of a lot of folks that can come together with common values, and a lot of what we promote is common sense, which isn't so common these days, and generally, party label aside, the vast majority of people in our community and our state want the same things. They want safe neighborhoods and communities where they can raise a family. They want good education options. They want their kids to be better off than they were. And they want to keep more of their hard-earned money, pay less taxes, and have opportunities for themselves, but also for their kids and grandkids to stay and grow and thrive here in Illinois. So part of the thought process behind Big Tent Coalition was getting these folks that are like-minded together and get them engaged civically and regardless of party affiliation. So, when I talk to folks, I say, if we're going to change Illinois, we all need to work together to do that. And it's not just the conservatives and the libertarians and the Republicans and the moderates and the independents, but we also need the Democrats and other folks that to get on board, because data shows us that the vast majority of people in today's day and age, particularly young people, don't affiliate or resonate with either party, and so that group that's in the middle continues to grow.
So what's the Big Tent Coalition? You mentioned some substantive areas, I think.
Yes.
I think you mentioned crime. People all want safe neighborhoods, safe streets. I think you mentioned education. People all want quality schools. Kids can learn at least how to read, do math proficiently, as well as other things.
Right.
So crime and education, those are big issues. They want jobs. They want to earn a good living. They want to be free to do that, to make those choices, perhaps where they go to school, certainly where they work. Don't be burdened by taxes and regulation. Have I articulated those core principles of the Big Tent Coalition of what you think unifies the people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you did a good job.
And how many people now, if you had to say or guess, do you have members of Big Tent Coalition? Do you have volunteers? How do we measure the size of the group that's within that, under the tent of the Big Tent Coalition?
Yeah, so we're definitely a startup organization that we have running. Some of the metrics that we look at and what we subscribe to is building one-on-one, face-to-face relationships, which a lot of that in today's day and age has gone out the window. But what we found, and it's nothing new, we're not reinventing anything, but going back to the old school retail politic, teaching and training and educating people how to actually go out and engage with their neighbors and have conversations. And so one of the metrics that we measure is how many doors we've knocked or canvassed as an organization. And since we've gotten started, we're over, with this last election cycle, over 500,000.
500,000.
Over 500,000.
Have you supported candidates specifically, say state reps, state senators? Have you endorsed them? How many of those have you been involved with and knocking on doors for those people?
Yeah, so we have had, including myself, we've had about 7 folks that have gone through our programs so far.
7 candidates for the state legislature?
State legislature, county, and all the way even down to the municipal level. We're mainly focused on the state legislature, but we're kind of expanding.
So those 7 are a mix of those 3, county, municipal level,
Yes.
and state legislature.
Yes.
And are they all Republicans, Democrats, Independents, would you say, or do they tend to be more Republican, say? Because you are a Republican, right?
Yes.
And your values are, would you say, core Republican?
I am.
Are you a core Republican conservative?
I am. I'll explain it to people oftentimes. I consider myself, personally, as a conservatarian, I say.
Conservatarian.
Yeah, so conservative, and I kind of have a little bit of a libertarian bend to me in terms of...
You believe in the free market?
Yes, very much so.
Do you believe in school choice?
Absolutely.
Do you believe criminals or people engaged in criminal behavior and so adjudicated should be punished?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the mark of a Republican in terms of how they approach crime, how they approach education, school choice, and business, lower taxes, less regulation? Have I kind of summed up you and what do we say? Republictarian, conservatarian, is that how you put it?
Conservatarian, yeah.
Conservatarian. Have I summed up that principle?
Yeah, I believe that's pretty well put. What makes America great? We're the United States. We have 50 states, and there's competition. And competition is part of, and the free market system is part of what makes America one of the greatest countries in the world. And so I believe that with competition and diversity of thought, you're going to get the best output. And that's part of the reason why our state, I believe, is in such a challenging time right now that it is because there is a lack of competition, both from the leadership of our elected officials to the leadership of our education system in
From
the
K
state.
through 12 to college to university, the whole schmear. People might take offense at this. There are Republicans, and they're doing what they think is hopeful to reduce the supermajorities of the Democratic Party,
Right.
and maybe even get to a majority for the Republican Party. They're doing that, but they might find it offensive. But just like for a long, long time, perhaps almost 100 years, we had a single party in the city of Chicago. Now we're
Right.
roughly 20% Republicans and 80% Democrats. We now have sort of a single party in the state of Illinois, and it's not quite 80% Democrats, 20% Republicans,
Right.
but it's moving in that direction. Would that be fair?
I would completely agree. I think that's fair to say. And I think one of the, our government federally, but also down to the state level, is designed to be balanced government. There's supposed to be negotiation. There's supposed to be give and take. There's supposed to be collaboration.
Right, they teach that in civics, but it ain't the case in
Well,
Illinois.
it
It
is
ain't
not
the
the
case
case
in
in
Chicago.
Illinois.
Ain't the case in Cook County.
Right.
Many of the counties, the great majority of the 102 counties across the state, it is the case, I think, right?
Yeah,
But they don't have that many people.
right.
More cattle, perhaps, or not cattle, whatever we have in the agricultural area. Okay?
Lots of corn.
Lots of corn. More corn than people, I guess. So the thing of it is, Tim Ozinga, people are wondering, so you thought you could do something better, pursue other opportunities than being a state rep. So they're wondering, so this is the beginning of a governor run?
No.
Do you think you might run for governor in 2024? Maybe in 2026? Would you run in 2026 for governor, you think?
I think, I don't have plans to run for governor in 26 at this point. I think, our family has had a long history of service, and so it's
Right.
mainly just being obedient to continuing to serve the community, figuring out how we can have the best, most positive impact on the community. And I'm very much of the notion, certain doors are going to open and other ones are going to close. And
So you would take a look at it. It's possible. You're not closing the door to running for governor in 2026. Would that be fair?
I would consider it.
You would consider it.
Yeah.
And some people might think BTC, Big Tent Coalition, is perhaps a vehicle for you to do that?
I think, from my perspective, we've learned a tremendous amount in terms of being involved, getting elected, running for office. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride for anybody that's ran before. They can tell you. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And
yeah, I certainly do.
I'm most passionate about really equipping and empowering other people to get involved. I think we need an engaged citizenry. We need
So door knocking is a big deal.
It
It's
is.
a big effing deal, if I can use that word. When you knock on 500,000 doors, you think you're doing something, right?
Right.
If you could knock on 10 million, well, there are only 13 million people in Illinois, so maybe some of that's double knocking, right?
Yeah.
But
So-
every time you do that, what do you do at BTC when your folks go out and knock on doors? Let's say they were knocking on a door with the idea in mind of promoting a state rep or state senate candidate. Would that person likely be a Republican, or could they just as likely be a Democrat?
They could very likely be a Democrat.
So what would they do? Give me a door. I'm the door. You're knocked on my door, and you're the guy. You're the volunteer. How many of these volunteers do you have that knocked on 500,000 doors?
We've had close to, I'm trying to think of the exact number. Over the years, we've had almost 500 volunteers. and
500.
interns
So I'm one of those
that have
500.
worked.
You're one of those 500. Tell me what you say to me as I say, hi, who are you?
So if I'm the candidate, I'll say one thing if I'm a volunteer, but typically we're walking on behalf of a candidate, and it's what we train and educate people. kind of pretty basic, but at the same time, it's
Okay,
a
but
bit
just
of
give
a
me,
lost
what
art.
do they say? Do they try to get out something in the first few minutes? How long is this dialogue going to be when they knock on the door?
So it's all about listening and empathy, which
Mm-hmm.
sounds counterintuitive. They're not out there to persuade the voter or to convince them to vote a certain way. It's about getting out and introducing the candidate. So I would say, hi, I'm Tim Ozinga. I'm here to, I'm a volunteer for John Smith, and I'd like to introduce you to him. He's running for state senate. How are things going? What are your biggest concerns with what's going on in the community? Those sorts of things. And then we train our people just to have empathy and listen and really kind of probe deeper into what
Do you teach
the
them to
residents.
sort of sell to the pitch? The guy opens the door and he said, our schools are just not doing well. There's too much crime. Boy, I'm not happy. So that's all you know. What's the next thing your candidate says? That's all he knows. This person is not happy about crime or school performance. What do you say? What does he say to them?
Absolutely. So we prepare folks with kind of a cut sheet of all different policy issues that the candidate supports and subscribes to. And then we're able to communicate effectively to those. And if they can't answer the questions, we tell them that we'll, look into it and get back to them.
But they will have something to say.
Absolutely.
Because okay, and let's go to the schools. Because you say, I think there's a lot wrong with Illinois. We talked about this prior to the show. A lot of things you want to change. What are the two most important things for you to change? Give me the substantive areas. For you and Tim Ozinga, your background, you're a dad, you're a husband, father of 4 children, you were a state rep, you're now the founder and volunteer CEO of Big Tent Coalition.
Yeah.
And what are the really 2 key issues as you see it here?
For me, I'm part of a
Across Illinois, and across Chicago and Cook County, because Chicago and Cook County is sort of the engine of growth, but a lot of these are similar, if not exactly the same, in Illinois as in Chicago. Give me those 2 big issues that leap out at you.
Yeah, for me, it's all about the next generation is what it's about. I'm in a multi-generational family business, and so we're not a publicly traded company. It's not about next quarter's numbers. It's about how do we successfully raising, educating, and giving opportunity to the next generation so that we can continue the legacy.
Okay, so you said educating. Is education important?
I think from my perspective, if you were to boil it down to 2 things, it's education. And you could argue that education is a part of opportunity, but it all comes down to opportunity and growth is the
Economic
2.
growth.
Yeah.
Personal growth. Personal
Growth in a lot of different areas.
But growth.
Growth and
Okay,
opportunity.
education. Yeah, well, Jack Kemp, a Republican long ago, said hope, growth, and opportunity. Are you about hope, growth, and opportunity?
I would say so.
So, and education, is key. People have studied this a lot. WirePoints has. We got 1.9 million public school students across the state of Illinois, and they say it turns out when you look at the numbers for reading at grade level, doing math proficiently, 2/3 of the 1.9 million, 1.2 million are not cutting it across the state of Illinois. In Chicago, it's much worse because 85% of CPS is minority, Black, and Hispanic, and when you look at performance of Blacks, it varies over the last 20 years. I would say 10 to 20% of Blacks read or perform at grade level. And with Hispanics, it's a little higher, okay? And numbers can be at times even worse, like 8%, 11%, and similar for Hispanics. It's awful.
It is.
Have you heard any Democrat politician to refer to those numbers? 10 to 20%, 8 to 15%. Number of kids reading at grade level in Chicago, state of Illinois.
But it's a problem in Chicago, and it's a problem all across the
We don't
state.
hear any Democratic politicians. Do we hear Republican politicians talk about it? Do you talk about it,
not
Tim
all of
Ozinga?
them.
Do you talk about that?
I try to talk about it. I mean, from my perspective, education for a lot of people in a lot of different communities is their opportunity to grow and to have, I was talking to a gentleman the other day who's a truck driver, and he told me, you know, my goal in life and every day that I drive this truck is because I want to provide for my kids, and I want them to have the opportunity to get a good education and go to college and do better than I did.
This is not racial.
And,
it's for blacks, it's for Hispanics, it's for whites. The whole thing, it ain't working, right?
No, yeah, it's a problem everywhere, in my opinion, and we could be doing a lot better.
And people, they can't be safe in their homes, in their streets. We've all heard about crime. It continues to get worse. We hear from the governor and the mayor, oh, it's better. Better, really? Did the numbers show that? Better? What's his idea of better, okay?
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and they were saying how it's becoming more and more common now for you to know somebody that was a victim of crime, particularly in the Chicago area, you know, and so I said, well, it's funny you should say that because a member of my family was carjacked with her young baby in the car at gunpoint while she was at the grocery store in Chicago, and this hits close to home for a lot of people, my family included, and we take for granted basic things like safety and being able to go to the grocery store, not having to worry about being a victim of a crime. Like, we can't take those for granted anymore.
Right. No, I mean, at
that's
least the
what we're dealing
numbers,
with.
the numbers are so horrendous. Wirepoint says from 2019 to 2023, major Chicago crime hit a post-COVID record, up 55% from 2019 to 2023. The governor says it's getting better, Jeff. Look at it. Because if you look at it from 2022 to 2023, the last year, it went up 16%. I mean, has anybody in the Chicago media sat down with the governor or the mayor? He's been mayor for the last year. They all sat down, but then nobody's done an interview. Mayor Johnson, come on over. Let's do a real interview, not one where they edit out your less favorable things. If you were running for governor, and you were running for governor now, I know it's not the case, we don't have an election for governor in Illinois this year, but just give me a minute or so of your stump speech. Yeah, just give it to me from the gut right now. What would you tell me in a minute why you should be governor? You haven't decided, but if you were running for governor, what would you go out when they opened that door, when you knocked on that door? What does Tim Ozinga say as to why they should vote for you for governor of the state of Illinois?
I think regardless of what the future holds, what myself and my family, what we've been passionate about for generations is helping individuals and their families succeed. And that looks different to different people, but we want to provide an environment where people don't have to worry about crossing the street, where you don't have to worry about your kids going out and playing in the neighborhood or what side of the street you're on, how to get to school. And we want to create an opportunity for families to thrive and grow and continue to build their legacy here in the state of Illinois, not feel like they have to go somewhere else to fulfill that dream.
All right. Thank you so much, Tim Ozinga, for coming here and just saying it bluntly, all right? And we wish you luck, as we do all our guests when they come on this show, because without you sharing his views, we're nothing, and we really appreciate you coming here. Thank you so much.
You.
Tim Ozinga, he's multiple things, but he is founder and volunteer CEO of the Big Tent Coalition. He is a father. He is a husband, father of 4 kids. He is a co-owner of Ozinga Brothers, okay? And he's the executive vice president of that company, very flourishing company. Despite all of these burdens and this tax burden, the regulation burden, your company is thriving in its 4th generation. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tim Ozinga, and thank you for coming to Public Affairs. You come back next week and every week to Public Affairs.